everyone. My name is Grace, and thank you for joining me for the Illustration Challenge live stream for today. Um, I am Grace, as I said earlier, and I am a hand lettering and doodle artist living in the UK, but I am originally from the Philippines. I have been a full time artist for about 5 years now, and I am completely self taught. I mainly do hand lettering and doodling, simple illustrations, and I like to combine letters and doodles to form my pieces. So, for my materials, I usually like writing in Fineliners, and I also like brush pens and glass pens and ink that I like to use in my pieces sometimes. And you can see most of them on my Instagram account, Grace Cali Designs. I don't know if you've seen any of my pieces, but I like to do videos of my process and I like to do patterns. And sometimes I also like to draw and write on different things like cups and mugs. And I like to do with them on teapots. So um, I do like a challenge. So this last week of the illustration challenge for Domestika is a great way to do that. And I would like to show you some of the things um, that I do or my process and how I illustrate something using one of the prompts in the Domestika challenge. So today I would like to do the autumn prompt, which is the 29th day, I think it is. Yeah, so maybe let's get started and I'll show you how I do things, what my process is, and come up with a piece. Hopefully, by the end of this, we can come up with something that would be nice. Um, I do have a course on Domestika called Illustrating Postcards. Just so it's I teach how to the basics of hand lettering and the basics of doodling and how to combine that into one postcard that you can use and you can create so that you can send them out and mail them out. So I will show you how I do that, like one piece or how I create one piece. Yes, so let's start. I'll show you the materials that I use first, right? So this is an A6 postcard that I use, and I like using them because it already has this at the back of it, so it's ready to send once you're done with it. And then for today, I'm going to use fine liners here. So they're just basic black ink with different points. So I have 0.005, 1.2, 0.8, different points there. And of course, I'm going to have a pencil because we will draft this first. Some brush pens that I like to use mainly for shadows and other things. Eraser, a gold gel pen, and some coloring materials. These are chameleon pens that I can show you how I use them later. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to draft something, right? So before I create my main piece, I like to think, what am I supposed to write? What am I supposed to draw when I do these things? So the prompt is autumn. I'm just going to write it here. Hope you can see it. Autumn. So I've already actually looked at what quote I want to write. I want the letter. And I think the best quote that to letter would be this that I found online. So sometimes I come up with my own quotes, sometimes I look for inspiration online. And this one I found. So I'm just going to write it here. Autumn is proof that I grew up in the Philippines and I've lived there most of my life. I've only lived in the UK the last 5 years or so. So I've never actually grown up with autumn. We don't have autumn back where I'm from. But now that I've experienced it, it's my favorite season. So I was really excited when I saw it on the prompt list of the Domestika challenge. So here is the quote: Autumn is proof that change is beautiful. So that is the quote that I want to use today. And to make sure that it fits here in this postcard, I'm going to number them. I'm going to number them so I know how many words I need to make space for. So there are 7 words that I need to draft a space for. I need to make sure that they all fit here and they all fit in a way that's composed and has good composition, basically. And now that I've numbered them, I have to see which words would I want to highlight or which ones do I want to look bigger than the others. So I think the most important words here, I mean, you might um, disagree, but for me, I think the most important words would be autumn, something that I want to highlight, change, and beautiful. So the words like is right here, they're small, so I can insert them somewhere in the piece, and they're not as important, I guess. I don't really want to say that word, but they're they're not the main focus, I guess, is the word for it for the quote. And so now that I have my quote, I have in mind how much space I need for each word and which ones I will make more space for. I'm going to try and draft a composition for it. So let's say that this is my paper right here. I'm just going to use my pencil so that it's easier. Let's say this is my paper right here, the postcard. So I'll just do a draft of how the words will fit. So maybe I'll want to fit autumn in there. And is and proof somewhere in there. So these boxes, they're only really there as a guide so that you can sort of see where you're going to put the words, but you don't really have to be exact. They don't have to exactly be in these boxes. They're mostly a guide to see where you are. And then we have like change there is, and then I want beautiful to sort of be curved like this. Okay, so there are 6 boxes right now, and in my head, at least, I want to put is somewhere inserted here somewhere because it's a very small word and it doesn't really need its own box. And then I'm also going to think of, if I want to put illustrations in it, I'm going to think of what would fit in this quote. So when I think of autumn, when I think of change, I think of, scarves, for example. I think of uh, tea, or coffee, or having something warm to drink, something very comforting. So I like to think of uh, pumpkins because it is autumn. It is sort of Halloween as well. So pumpkins are always nice. And leaves, because leaves changing is a very autumnal thing. So I'm going to try and see if I can incorporate any of these, or any of these themes, or any of these words, any of these illustrations, doodles in my lettering in this composition. So now we have our quote right here that I found online, but it's always nice to create your own quote because that's always fun. Um, and I also have my themes and my doodles that I might want to put in the postcard. It's always nice to have a few extra because if there's a space that you want to fill that you don't really know how to fill, then adding a leaf there or something is always a nice touch and it fills up the space. Okay, so we have our composition, our illustrations that we might use, and our quote. So I'm going to get our postcard right here. There. And we'll start. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick illustration, a quick draft here. I always like to have a margin, just a rough margin around the postcard. This isn't really necessary and you don't really have to do this. This is just a preference for me to have. So let's try and take this and put it here. Let's see. This is a live illustration and I am not really used to it because I'm used to, if you've seen my Instagram, I make 2-hour illustrations and I film them and then I put them on Instagram and just show like 1 minute of it. So I have to fast forward it to make sure that it fits the Instagram video. So this is a little nerve-wracking and I hope that this turns out like how I hope it does. But if it doesn't, that's art, isn't it? You just have to adapt and see what comes out. Okay, I don't really use a ruler. Maybe I should, but I don't. I don't really draft things as well because I like the being spontaneous and seeing what comes out of my hand. And that usually works when I'm alone and no one can see me and there's no pressure. But I think there are a few of you here. So if there's just one extra person here, then my hand gets nervous. I don't know if that happens to you. Like, you can draw and you can write okay when no one's watching. But the moment someone's watching, it's like, how Do I even know how to draw? Do I even know how to write anything? What is my hand doing? So I'm having a moment right now, but we will push through and see what comes out. Okay. I'm also really aware of the time right now and how we've spent 20 minutes with just me babbling about creating and drawing and doing things like that. Okay. Now that I'm doing this and making my composition, I'm also starting to think about, okay, what sort of lettering or what sort of style do I want to put? Do I want to write in these boxes? If you've seen my Instagram, I like to combine different lettering styles in one piece. And that's usually different versions of cursive or print lettering and stuff like that. Okay, now that I have sort of like a draft of the boxes, I'm going to start doing or putting these words inside these. Okay, so let's start. Um, I'll write autumn here. All right, autumn here. I want to write the word autumn in this full box right here. And that makes me think that is proof would be in the second box. And now that I see it, this is too much of a big box for those two words. So I'm sort of going to do a little flourish here so that I can insert the word is there. But for now, let's draft the word autumn. This is a style that I use that you know how you when you can't center your words and you run out of space. So you just do a quick little flourish here and it sort of balances everything. So it sort of centers itself. Okay, so now I'm thinking of incorporating a doodle, an illustration. So I kind of feel like making this into a scarf, the cross of the T into a scarf. So I'm going to do that. Right there. So this sort of becomes a scarf here. I hope you can see it. There. And then I'm going to insert the word is right here. And write the word proof. I'm just very aware right now of the space here. Okay. Okay, now that I'm thinking of the word change here, the word change, I kind of want to do a teacup right here, a spilling teacup, because sometimes plans don't work because things happen and you have to change them. So that is what my mind, where my mind is going. I think it's because I'm doing a live, and live illustration, you never really know what's going to happen. So I kind of want to do a spilling cup. So I'll do this so I can put the word change inside. And because there's still space here, so I can cheat a little bit and then just say that, oh, it's splatter from the tea. So this is a bit of an illustration right there. And I can put the word that here. I'm looking at the time and I'm just hoping that there's enough time for me to finish this. That, and then we have change. So I'm sort of doing bubble lettering here. To sort of imitate the liquid that comes out of the tea or coffee. I don't know. What do you drink? Could be alcohol in there. Okay. So we have that. Change. Okay, I can put the highlights later. Okay. So we have two more words. We have is. I'll just put it here. And beautiful. Okay. It is a long word, and let's hope that I can fit it here. I'm using script again, just like at the start there. This crossbar of the T is very helpful because if you do not have, if you need to fill up a space, then you can be very dramatic with it and do that. Okay. Right. So, we have our draft right here. I hope you can see it. There. I think we got all the words. Autumn is proof that change is beautiful. Right. I think that works. I'm just going to start inking it right now. Over here. I'm using a Pitt Faber-Castell brush pen. I'm going to use black for all of this and then just add a color for the change because I think that that's a good contrast, to what it is because I really wanted to highlight what change is. So let's just do that. So when I letter this, I push down harder on the downstrokes. See here, and then a little lighter on the upstrokes. I will leave that for a little bit so that I can draw the scarf later. So if you ever decide to recreate this, I would really love to see them. So please tag me if you decide to do this exactly? I don't want to see them. Okay, I'm going to use the Fineliner now. Right here for the scarf. Easier to control. Put that there so that it also crosses the T. Okay. Have the T there. And there we go. Okay, right. So I'm just going to continue and ink our piece that we did. I say we because I am very thankful that you have kept me company through this, and I hope that you're enjoying it. Okay. It's working so far. And just to let you know, I have two cats, so they're not very happy that I've locked them outside of my room because they always want to see what's going on inside here in my craft room. So I'm just going to do that little bit of highlight, because when you spill tea, it kind of goes everywhere, doesn't it? Right. Okay. So ink our teacup. Right there. And I like to have like 005 points so that you can do small details inside these things. You can't get in there with a bigger tip pen. Okay. Right. So ink that word. That. Have that over there. And let's ink change. Bubble lettering. Did you used to do this when you were in school? I remember in school that I just used to doodle, and was the only lettering I knew how to do. And now that I'm done with school, this is what I do for a living. Isn't that weird? The thing that you got in trouble for because you weren't listening to the teacher. And it's exactly the thing that you're doing now as a job. It's kind of strange. Okay, So that worked out. I'm pretty happy with that. Do some doodles, some highlights and things. Just little things like that. Okay. And then we continue. We're almost done with inking it. And then I'm just going to go back to my brush pen right here so that I can ink beautiful. Whenever I letter, I have to sort of stop and make sure that I have all the words correct and that I didn't misspell anything. Because it's easy to misspell things when you're lettering because you don't look at them as words, you look at them as shapes. You know, like when I write the B, I think, okay, it's a straight line and there are two curves. I don't think of them as the letter B. And then there are some days when you're just shaking to them. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to see if I can make some of these strokes look a little better. Right. If we had more time, I think I would do that. Okay, now that we basically have all the words here, I'm just going to fill in some of the spaces here. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I want to see if you're here and let me know if there anything that I do is confusing or is good or not good. So please. Let me know if you have questions. There's a sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay. So there is a space here that's a good opportunity to kind of do a little doodle. So because it's, autumn, I'm going to draw a leaf here. Just a really simple one. A cartoony one. Because that's what I do. Add a bit of detail. And then let's just add a few more here. All right. So I like doing these dots and little things. because it fills up the space a little bit. Okay, so now we have this, our, oh, actually, I am going to, sometimes I don't draw the margin or I don't ink the margin, but I kind of feel like I want to right now because I kind of want to do a sort of scroll paper feel to it, just to add a little bit of detail right there. Just a rough outline to sort of imitate one of those old paper. Okay, someone's asking, what basis can we choose the varieties of font that we can incorporate in a single quote? Okay, so that's a very good question. Thank you. So basically, there are 4 main types of lettering styles that I like to use when I do quotes. And that's, I'll show you, that's the cursive one, lettering, cursive, and then your normal print writing. And then there's a decorative one, decorative meaning, you add extra layers to it, add an extra line, make it bubble letters, and then you just pretty much combine all of them. And you kind of get the feel of how it works once you do that. And it's usually good to see if one is very heavy, then you try to make the next one a little lighter and have so that has a bit of variety, so it's not too heavy at one point. I hope that answers that question. I'm sorry, I think you've been asking questions, but I haven't been seeing them very much on the screen because I've been so focused on trying to get this right. How do you think before preparing a layout? So for me personally, I don't think, because one of the most difficult things about making things like this is that you overthink it. You think, okay, that's not going to work right away. That doesn't look right over here. But if you for example, if you have this quote and you just letter it without thinking of it, and then at least you already have it there. And then you can start editing it. You can start seeing that, okay, this doesn't work, or this second word doesn't work because it doesn't look good with the first one. So I guess what I'm saying is if you're having trouble preparing your layouts, then maybe one of the answers could be maybe don't prepare them. Maybe just surprise yourself. But if you are the kind to prepare, then one of the good ways to do it is like how I did it earlier, where you try to put them in certain boxes, like this one. Put them in certain boxes, make sure that each word has a box, and then you just try to fit them in there. And you do a few of those. You don't just have to do one. And you never know. Okay, I think I kind of messed this up a little because I was erasing. So I'm just using my gold gel pen right now to add a few things, a few highlights. Gold is always nice. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to add a bit of shadow with this Faber-Castell Pit Brush Pen, which is one of the grays. This is a cold gray. I really like these markers. So I'm just going to add a bit on the sides. Here, I don't think I erased this very well because I'm sort of rushing and making sure that I finish this by the end of this. But you get the idea. The good thing about the Domestika challenge is that you have 31 days, you have 31 days to be creative and sort of get everything right. So this is just a quick. What is your inspiration for designs? Judith asks. Thank you, Judith. So inspiration. Let's see. I really like looking at children's storybooks. You know, I have a lot of great memories reading books, picture books when I was a kid, and they were always fun and they're always whimsical. And I think that's why my art style is like this. They're sort of cartoony, they're fun. My style is not very serious. You won't see my stuff in galleries and stuff like that. Um, I like looking at titles of books, fantasy books in particular, because they always have a fun way of um, creating the titles and making sure that the fonts that they use work with the illustrations. And really, food packages are always fun, especially dessert packages and even wine and alcohol or beer labels are always nice. And other inspirations would be like different things that I see every day. You know, um, I try to incorporate them in my lettering and in my art. So if you look at my Instagram, you will see that my illustrations are very simple. Like I would make a ton of different ice cream cones or popsicles, or if you look at my Starbucks cup illustrations, I have different houses on them. How can you decide where to put the shadow? So there are different ways to do it. Um, Usually you do it on I do it like on the left and downwards. Right now you can't really you can't really tell because I'm doing it very fast. But if you Google, you know, drop shadow, you'll see like guides about how to do it. And I think I saw someone ask about where to find tutorials for lettering and stuff. I mean, there's lots of amazing courses on Domestika for one thing. I have one for like beginners if you want to check that out. Um, and there are tons of other ones that you can see. Like I have one on my Patreon, for example, and I put out a different lettering style, different lettering tutorial every month, and a different doodle workbook every month. So you can check that out if you like. Okay. I'm going to the last thing I'm going to do right now is to put a bit of color, and I'm going to put that on the scarf right there and on change. And I'm just going to show you how this chameleon markers work because they're really cool and I really love them. And I think they're good markers to use for today. So I'm going to show you here. So these are autumnal colors basically. So I'm going to put like the color top on the other color because then it's going to sort of create a color change and gradient. Let's see. Okay. So I hope you can see it. Let's do it with a T over here. So if you notice, there, I mean, you can do these with like watercolors and regular pens and stuff like that, but these are just fun and a time saver. For example, if you're doing a live stream that's an hour long, so it's a good option right there. So that's one, and then let's try to do it on the change. Yeah. Okay, I think we're making good time at least. Any other questions that you have? Is there any exercise to improve typography? Well, if you there are a lot of tutorials online, as I mentioned earlier, that you can find. Like, there's lots of stuff on Domestika, for example. Mine has a lot of exercises and tracing sheets that you can use. Where else? But if you don't want, sort of a tutorial, then you can also just practice on your own. So, try to see which artists or what lettering style you like, and then you try to imitate them, and you try to trace them, and then once you trace them, you try to do them on your own, and then after you do them on your own, then you try to add a few elements of a few design elements, like you add an extra stroke, you add an extra line, and you try to make the letters your own, just so you don't exactly imitate them. But I think imitation is a good start, at least when you're just starting out. Okay, so I'm just doing this thing again. Oh, okay, so we have 10 minutes left. I'm almost done. But if you have questions, then please let me know. I'm just going to color in these last few letters over here. I hope you enjoyed this. And look, I have colored outside the lines now because I got very concerned about finishing on time. But, that's live television. That's live streams for you. But that's easily fixed. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to do this. What type of eraser do you use? I use this. It's Tombow Mono Dust Catch. It's the best eraser out there, in my opinion. It's the one that I love using the most. I think that it does erase everything and all the pencil marks that you do. I haven't erased it that well right now because we are kind of in a time crunch. But I'm just going to leave the the scarf uncolored right now because I don't want us to go overtime, and I don't want you to. I don't want to keep you just in case you have something to do. But please tag me if you ever try to do this or anything else. Can you make a living from illustration? Um, yes, it's possible. It can be difficult, but it is possible. Um, for me personally, I mean, I'm sure that you've heard a lot of advice about how to start an illustration career. But for me, what worked really well um, was making sure that I had an audience, first of all. So I focused on growing my Instagram account. I didn't really set out to do that at first, but people started discovering me and discovering my art. So I started making more videos and continued to do that. And I started getting jobs from my Instagram because it works as sort of a portfolio a little bit, because it shows what you can do. And your followers turn out to be your customers as well, because if they like your work, then they want you to do things for them, like tattoos and other things, postcards, or they want t-shirts, or they want to learn from you. So you make tutorials and books. So it is possible. It can be a little frustrating and a little daunting, because you never know if it's going to work out. You don't know if people are going to like your work. It's a lot of trial and error. Some of it is luck, a lot of it is hard work, but it's always worth a try, in my opinion. So yes, I guess the short answer is yes. Yeah. So thank you for joining me in creating my autumn postcard right here. It's right here. See, now you can see it with me. So if you decide to draw something like this, I would love to see it. And I've been seeing some of the work that you've done for the creative challenge for October from Domestika, and they've been amazing so far. And I'll be on the lookout this week, because I will be judging this week's illustration challenge, and I would love to see what you all come up with. And yeah, thank you for joining me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that.
La idea es como algo muy frágil.
Se me fue la hebra.
I'm going to show you some examples. This is what we've got behind me.
¿Qué más preguntas tengo por aquí? ¿Cómo descubriste que los juguetes